welcome to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Joelle and I am a mum to 5. And if you're not new here, then you would know that I am a homeschooling mum. I have been a homeschooling mama to my kids for over 7 years, almost going into our 8th year of homeschooling. And this is not an easy video for me to make. I'm going to do my best to get through this video. I know I'm going to have to stop it a few times just to let the tears come and the emotions come out. But I wanted to update you, especially if you have followed this channel, the homeschooling part of this channel. You know, I haven't been the most consistent vlogger. I wish I was more consistent, but I have had a lot of homeschooling content over the years. And let me just start by saying I am passionate about homeschooling. I firmly and fully believe in it with all of my heart. I believe I will always be a homeschooling mum at heart. Totally believe and agree with the philosophy of it. And I truly believe that I know it's not possible for all parents to teach their kids at home, which I'll get into in a minute. But if it is possible, then, you know, unless there's just a really bad situation going on where there's abuse and that sort of thing, in any normal situation, the parent loves the child more than anyone. The parent is qualified to teach their child more than anyone. I truly, truly believe that. And I always will. And you know, this video is not scripted, you're going to be able to tell. I have not scripted anything. I'm just going to talk and do my best. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get everything out on this one video. I might have to make a couple more and just talk in detail about some different aspects of this decision. But I started homeschooling my oldest child when he was preschool age. The reason we did that was because he had some health problems and I couldn't put him into preschool. I never intended on being a homeschool mum, never considered it. I had my best friend who was considering homeschooling. And I had family members in the States who I knew who homeschooled, but I had not considered it for myself. But I think through my best friend and, you know, hearing her passion and everything, I sort of thought that homeschooling would be a really good temporary, at least, option for us while my oldest child, you know, had to go through what he went through. And thank you God, he's so much better now. But back then it was a necessary action. I couldn't send him to preschool. I couldn't send him to kindergarten. I could have, but it would have been very difficult on him and on me as his mum. And so I didn't, and I kept him at home and I homeschooled him. And we basically fell in love with it. It began as something that was necessary, and then it turned into something we wanted to do. When my oldest was in kindergarten, for one term, I believe it was term 2 or term 3, I did send him to school. I had a newborn. I had four kids at that point, and my youngest was a newborn, and his health was quite a bit better. And yeah, so I was like, well, let's give it a go. Let's send him for a term and see how he does, because I was sort of feeling like I wasn't doing a great job. And so I sent him to school, and he did a term, and it was okay. It wasn't great, but it was okay. But at the end of the term, he decided and I decided, we were like, hey, we love homeschooling so much more. And so we actually unenrolled him and went back to homeschooling, and everything followed after that. His brother joined in when it was his term. His other brother joined in, and his sister joined in. And now I have a little toddler, sort of preschooler as well, coming around the house. So I have been at home for 7 years full-time homeschooling my kids, over 7 years now, and I have absolutely loved it. And I will always hold homeschooling dear to my heart. I'm not going to be able to give all the details because there's just not enough time in this video, but I do think I'll make more videos on this and maybe be able to share in a bit more detail about just everything. But if you have followed along on this channel over the years, you know that I have spoken many times about mental health. I went through like horrific postnatal depression, and that that PND basically just turned into depression. I recovered from the postnatal depression, but I was never quite the same in my stability, I guess, and my just the amount that I could take emotionally. I think I just became a bit more of a fragile person, a stronger person in some ways, because God brought me through a really difficult situation, but also a bit more fragile, a bit more, I just had to be a lot more careful with my levels with anxiety and all of those sorts of things. And so homeschooling has not always been easy, and I don't think homeschooling is easy for any parent, but I do know for especially a mother or a father going through mental health, having, relapses here and there, we've definitely had our seasons over the last 7 years that have been hard when it comes to homeschooling. Let's fast forward to about 2 years ago. So every year we've never been anti-school. We're not against school. I've said before, my husband is a school teacher. We've never been against school, but homeschooling always just suited us better. And I honestly felt as a Christian, and I'm not saying that I feel this for all Christians, I just felt it for me, for my own personal conviction, that the Lord was asking me for this season to homeschool my children, and I had such a peace to do it. And so I did, and I loved it, but it was difficult at times, just with my mental struggles that I had from time to time. But about 2 years ago, we moved. We moved from Western Sydney, from Penrith, and we moved to Canberra. And this has been such an adventure. This move has grown me as a person so much. It has stretched me so much, and our children. And it's all been for the best. It's all been good, but it hasn't all been easy. And particularly with our homeschooling, we left a really good support group in Penrith. We were part of a great homeschooling group. Our best friends who are also a homeschool family, we would meet with them frequently. They were just like family to us. And so we had like our best friends, and then we were also part of a bigger homeschool group, and we'd go on excursions. And I'm not exaggerating. It wasn't like every single week that we were with this big homeschool group, but it was just so nice to know that we had that. Like there were other families that, thought the same, did the same sort of stuff as us. And it was just really encouraging. Moving to Canberra has been hard socially. And socialization has never been the priority. It's always been a priority. It's never been the priority for whether we would homeschool or not. But losing that support had a much bigger impact than I realized, than I initially thought it would. We did try to join a couple of groups down here, and they were lovely, kind people. I don't think any of them would ever see these videos, but if you do, there was nothing wrong with them. They were great groups, but for whatever reason, it was just hard. It was just hard for my kids, and it was hard for me. It was just hard for us to reconnect. I think we struggled because we were so close with our previous groups and friends, and it was a bit of a struggle. And so, we've done our best. We've put our kids into sport. We've put them into, sorry, I've got a bit of a runny nose. Little athletics. They're part of church. They have friends. They do have friends, but they've not reconnected and made the same sort of level of relationships that we had in Penrith. And that is something that I am praying about. Now, that's not the main reason as to why we have turned into this new direction, but that's just one of the many aspects of this multi-layered decision. I think the biggest part is my mental health. I think losing is such a bad way of saying it. Leaving that support group behind, as far as homeschooling is concerned, it really impacted me. Homeschool groups are very important for the kids. I think the most important for the kids, but they are just as important for the mums. And so that really, that's been a struggle for me. And then just, I've only moved to Canberra. It's only a 3-hour difference from where we were. And I do see my family. I go see them. It's not like I never see my family and my friends, but it is a lot less than what I used to. And I think that, I'm not trying to make anybody feel sorry for me or anything like that. I just want you to know that I'm really not. This is just, I've known about this decision for months, but I haven't been able to make a video about it because it's just such a, it's just, these kids are my whole world. And this is really hard for me to come to this decision. And I know there are good things ahead. I'm not dissing school. I know that they're going to have a great time. It's a good school, and I'll get into that probably in another video because I won't have time. I know the future is bright and it's good, but it's just been very hard to get to this point. I think that being somebody who has that history of depression and anxiety, I think that I didn't realize that it would impact me so much, and it did. And so for the last, at the same time, I don't want to, I'm making it sound like this is bad. This has been incredible as a family over the last, year and a half. Sorry. We have grown so much closer than we have ever been before. We've gone through some hard situations. We've gone through some lonely situations, and it hasn't caused us to break apart. It's caused us to draw closer together. It's tested my faith. It's stretched me in my walk with God. And so although it's been hard, a lot of really good things have come from it. The refiner's fire, a lot of things being refined, and still are being refined. But one of the things that really suffered was because of sometimes my emotional struggles, was the homeschooling. My level of ability to do it just really dropped. And, it's not so bad when the kids are younger. It's not so bad. I would say, from grade 3 and below, you can get away with a lot. And I'm all for unschooling. I really am. I even tried it for a bit here and there, and I've got friends who do it. I love the idea of it. I think that if you're a family who it's suited to, it's a wonderful philosophy, but it does not work for my family. It just does not work, and I have tried it. It doesn't work because of me, not because of my kids. I think my kids would be great at it. I am not a good unschooling mother. If you don't know what unschooling is, that is where you just let kids learn based on their interests, and you just fully support them to go after whatever it's interest-based learning basically. And I just did not have that in me as a person to, fully support. I have 5 children, but 4 homeschool kids, 4 kids, full on interest. I couldn't do it. I just didn't have it in me. I am not the most organized person, but I really do need structure and routine in my life. And if I don't have it, everything falls apart. And so the times that I would try to be that sort of a mum and let's just follow everybody's interests, it was like disastrous. It was so bad. It was so bad in every way, and nobody had a good time. So, it came back to curriculum, and then getting frustrated and trying a new curriculum. And my older 2 boys' education truly began to suffer. And I saw it from about a year and a half ago. I mean, when we moved, I sort of gave myself this grace period of like, oh, you've just moved, don't worry about it. But like, I never picked up from it. I never recovered. And so yeah, their education has suffered. And it got to the point where I would get so overwhelmed because I was so panicked that they were not learning. Well, they were learning, but not at the level they needed to be learning at, that I would like weekly be having meltdowns. And I mean big meltdowns. Like I would crash. I would just crash emotionally, and I would have big crying spells, and then I would just switch off completely. And it got scary because, as I said previously, as somebody who suffered very badly with depression, I didn't want to go back there. I know the warning signs, and I did not want to go back to that place. And my kids were suffering because I was suffering, and nobody was happy. And so a couple months ago, long story short, I want to give you all the details. I'm going to have to do it in another video. We found an amazing school. We found a brilliant school. And, over the last sort of, year and a half, I have prayed. I've prayed a lot. And sorry, my storage ran out, so I'm really going to end this video quickly because I don't know how much more my phone can take. But I prayed really specifically, and I was like, God, if you would want our kids to go to school, I sort of presented this really specific list of things that I would look for in a school. And long story short, there are a few good Christian schools around here, but there's one in particular that had David, my husband, and my attention, and we attended the open night, and we honestly felt this incredible sense of peace, like this is the direction we're supposed to go. Since that time, my heart has been like ripped out of my chest many times, and I have struggled, and I have tried to change my mind and go back and say, no, we don't need to do it. But my husband has been very lovingly strong, and he's like, Jo, we need to do this. This is a new season. This is a new day. And the worst case scenario is that we'll try it and it won't work, and we'll come back home and we'll homeschool again. But the best case scenario is we'll try it and we'll realize as a family, actually, this is really good for us in this season. I truly believe that this season that we've been in, these last over 7 years, have been in obedience to God. We have done what He asked us to do for our children. And I know that the fruit of homeschooling for these years, I truly believe will be lifelong. And the different things that we have been blessed with as a family through that will far outsee, how do you say it? Go beyond the school years, if you know what I mean. But it hasn't been easy. Even last night, I was like, no, I can do it. I can homeschool. I can do it. But this is my heart. This is my heart talking. And then I mean well, but unfortunately, emotionally, it's just been a bit too much. And so I think that this is the right decision. So in summary, to let you know, we have 5 children, as I've said a few times in this video. My 2 oldest boys will be starting school in term 3. It's mid-year. It's a mid-year start, which is hard in itself, let alone being a homeschool family. But I think it's really important, particularly for my oldest son, who will be going into year 7 next year, to have, 6 months of this year to adjust to school life. And then also my other son, who will be going into grade 4. We've been told, hopefully in term 4, my other 2 children will be able to start school as well. So we will just wait and see on that one. So I will still be homeschooling them for this term, but it's a lot easier to homeschool the lower grades for me, a lot less pressure. So that should be good. And then we'll see about next year with preschool. It wouldn't be full time, but a couple days a week possibly for Michaela, because now I need to go get a job. I need to go back to work, 2 or 3 days a week. So this is a new season. I don't want you to think that I'm like hating it. I'm not hating it. I am mourning the end of something that I have deeply loved and cherished, but I'm also excited for the future. I'm excited for especially my older boys to experience. There are some things that I just can't give them as a homeschool mum. And I'm not talking about all homeschool parents. I'm talking about me. My limitations. I know what I can and can't do with them. And I do feel like, not just academically, definitely academically, I've definitely hit a wall with what I'm able to do. And I know there's ways around that. I know there's tutoring and there's courses, but emotionally, it was just too much for me. I was getting so overwhelmed. And, my husband was like, I kept putting my hand up for help, and he basically was like, Jo, it's time. Because this is something we have visited over the years back and forth, and it hasn't been the time, but now it is the time. And so that's what's happening. Please pray for me. Please pray for my children. I genuinely mean that. I would really appreciate your prayers. My heart is, I'm not going to be afraid, because I know that God is with them, but I do, I don't want them to feel behind. You know, I don't want them to struggle. They are going to have a shock when it comes to school life. They have been homeschooled their entire lives, and they're going into grade 6 and grade 4 in the second half of the year. In some things, my children, and I've been saying this, you know, to different teachers and staff at the school who have been great. They've been great. But in some things, my kids are absolutely going to be behind because we have not followed the school curriculum. And I'm going to make a video on that. I have a whole video I want to make on that. And that's a good thing. That's the whole point of homeschooling. In some things, my kids are going to be ahead. Like, for example, one of my kids who will be going into school, I guarantee you he will be, if I'm not trying to boast, I just know my child very well. If not the best reader in his whole class, like one of the best, one of the highest. His reading level is through the roof. And yet he really struggles with spelling. Would you believe? He can read very difficult words, and yet he doesn't necessarily spell them. And so it's like, yes, he's going to be behind in one thing, but he'll be ahead in the other. And okay, I'm going to stop talking about that because my storage thing came up again. So I will make another video on that really soon. I would really love to talk on that topic. But anyway, this is what's happening. Huge changes. It's been pretty rocky for me, up and down, but we're going to get there. And I know God's got this. I know he's with us. I just wanted to quickly say before my storage runs out again that I don't have any intentions of quitting this channel. My heart behind this channel has always been motherhood, reaching out and ministering to other mums in particular. I think my channel will take a lot more of a focus on, what it does already, grocery hauls, meal plans. I want to talk a lot more about mental health. I've always said that. I'd still love to do vlogs. There's no reason why we can't still do vlogs. And so, yeah, the channel is not going anywhere. It might just look a little bit different. But I mean, not that much different because I have not been, as I said, very consistent. Okay, really gonna go now because I just had it again. Thank you if you've made it this far. Thank you so much for listening. I wanted to update you, let you know what's going on, but I will be back very soon with another video, probably a grocery haul, but I want to be back with another one of these videos just to talk a little bit more about what's on my heart. And yeah, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you, and I will see you very soon. God bless you. Bye.